Hello and welcome back to another edition of Around the Horns. Today we have none other than Coach Jim Schlossnagel of Texas Baseball, and it's that time of year. It's fall ball. The World Series is about to kick off, and Coach, wanted to get your thoughts on how the team's looking this fall.
Yeah, feel really confident about the progress that our guys made over the course of the fall and the summer too. Majority of the returning pitchers stayed here over the summer and really invested in the weight room. Coach Couch did an awesome job with them, and some of the position players came back from summer ball a little bit early. Guys like Ethan Mendoza spent about 4 weeks here, saw some big gains for him. So fall practice was good, and we're still doing plenty of baseball, just not as much team stuff, no inter squad games or anything like that. But basically, the fall allows us to evaluate each individual player and see where they fit in, what do they need to get better at. So we have a good grasp of that right now, and so we get, I think it's 8 solid weeks between now and when the guys go home for Christmas or the holidays, where we can really see some body gains, whatever that means for each player, and then some individual baseball stuff. So super excited about this time period moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Coach Couch, one of the best in the nation at strength and conditioning. One of the first people that I noticed coming back and looking at the scrimmages was Mendoza. You mentioned him already, but man, he looks like he completely transformed. And I mean, even looking at some of the exit velos and some of the analytics, it looks like he's been able to adjust or make adjustments that have translated immediately. What have you seen from him just coming off the summer and then coming into this fall?
Yeah, just a lot of maturity, figuring out, what he needs to do to be the best version of himself, and getting stronger and hitting the ball harder. He's always been a really good contact guy, and he's obviously a super gritty baseball player, ultra competitive, is a winning player. But getting his body to the point where he can impact the ball and have a real what I would call a carrying tool, at least in college baseball, that allows him to be, not just another player, to be an elite, potentially elite level SEC hitter. And he's always played a solid second base. That's probably his best position. And he's also started to show some leadership skills. So we have with losing Galvan and Schussler and Jalen and Max, there's a big vacuum there from a leadership standpoint, and Ethan and a few other guys have kind of stepped into that. But Mendoza's been awesome. We just need him to keep doing what he's doing, but also, leadership is more than just taking care of yourself. It's bringing people along with you. And so far he's done a good job of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about another guy who he may not be the most vocal guy on the team, but Adrian Rodriguez, he looks like he really transformed his body as well. He was moving very smoothly on the infield, getting some time at shortstop. How big of the transition over that summer, going from your freshman year where you're just trying to do as much as you can, especially dealing with that injury, and then coming back and kind of seeing what he's been able to do in that time frame?
Yeah, it's really amazing. His comment to me at the end of the season last year was, "Coach, I want to prove to everybody that I can play shortstop." And we knew he wasn't going to play because he was dealing with the hand stuff. He was going to go home and go to work on his body and work on his defense, because I think he took about a solid 8 weeks off of hitting, and he really has done an amazing job. He's actually lost weight. We had him up probably 15 pounds last year. He's lost most of that. He's still super strong. He's leaned out. He's moving really well. The thing about Adrian is he just loves baseball. And, I don't know of anyone. I love baseball. I don't know of anyone that loves baseball more than Tulo. And Adrian's right there with him. He loves to work. He loves to take ground balls. He treats kind of taking ground balls like when you're a kid and you just love to go in the backyard and shoot hoops. Like, kind of disorganized play is what I would call it. And so he just loves it. He loves that part of the game. And he's done an awesome job, and there's some other good infielders in that group, but Adrian has really set himself apart. And look forward to hopefully him having a big season. We certainly need him to have a great year for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And then kind of the other returning infielder, Casey Borba, he worked on himself as well this summer. Didn't go off to the Cape, which I'm sure he had that opportunity to, but worked on the swing and then worked on the body, like the physicality as well. And that it started to show. It looked like in the way that he was handling himself defensively.
Yeah, he's definitely moving better, running better. Actually, I don't think he's ever going to be a burner, but
Yeah.
he's all we ask is they become the best version of themselves. So Casey's done a nice job of that. He's getting in better positions to field the ball, whether that be at third base or first base. We had a heck of a luxury last year in Kimball. The defense that he played at first base was really a weapon for us, not just the plays around the base, but the plays out in the field and the throwing, which you don't normally put in. You don't normally put too much into a first baseman's throwing, but when you're really good at it, boy, it shows up. You think about all of the 3-6-1 and 3-6-3 double plays we turned last year; those are very rare, and so Kimball's to be credited for that. And he's part of our staff this year, and he's going to have a big impact on our team. Already has, but Casey, getting to work, especially at first base, is big. And like the next 8 weeks, that's the kind of thing that we'll really focus on, is all of the nuances of becoming a better, infielder. Not just first base for Casey, but he'll spend a lot of time there because we know what he's capable of at third base.
Yeah. And then looking at some of the transfers on the infield side, so you got obviously Temo from Stanford. You brought in Carson Tinney from Notre Dame. Andrew Ermis is, coming over from the JUCO ranks. How have they felt, moved into the team, kind of making their position their own, melding with the other returning players, and just what are they showing you from the fall ball perspective?
Yeah, all those guys have been elite in terms of their transition to playing at Texas and how they handled, coming into a big program like this, where you kind of want to keep your mouth shut a little bit and earn your stripes by how hard you work. But at the same time, you have to be who you are. You don't want to mute or stifle somebody. And so they've all done great with that. Timo, Josh Livingston, like you said, Carson Tinney, Ermis, even Cal Early, transfer from Liberty, who, he's just now getting cleared to be able to do, full-time stuff. And he's put on 15 pounds. I haven't seen him play a game yet, so I have no idea what kind of contribution he'll make, but I've started to see him hitting the cages, and, it's definitely something to work with, I think. And we know he can play defense. So all those guys have been great. Tinney, he has a lot of good leadership skills, and he's evolving into that, help fill that vacuum that I was talking to you about, along with Mendoza. It's always a great thing when, like last year, when one of your leaders or one of your primary players is catching. When they're at the forefront of the team, that means a lot because they're handling the ball kind of like the quarterback. They're handling the ball all the time, and so if they can be a leadership type guy and set a good example and bring other people along with them, then you got a chance to make your team better. So Carson's done that, and Timo's awesome. He's just an elite human, Stanford grad, comes from an awesome family. He's got a really good confidence of humility and a really good combination of humility and confidence. And so he's one of those guys that lights up the room when he walks into it.
Yeah. I mean, Carson definitely showed off the bat. I think it was very first swing against Texas Tech up in Round Rock at the Dell Diamond. It was a 108, 110 off the bat, and I was like, all right, yeah, that'll play. So if he can replicate some of what he did last year towards the end of the year, especially at Notre Dame, I mean, he could have a really special season for Texas. So
yeah, I mean, he's certainly a bell cow type player. He's somebody that we need to have make an impact, and he will. Got to keep him healthy. But those other guys, Ermis and Presley Corville, those guys are important too. Tinney actually plays a pretty solid first base. So it's always good to be versatile. when injuries pop up and you need to move guys around. But he's an exceptional catcher. That's why he was in the final three along with Ryland for the Buster Posey Award last year.
Yeah, that was the first time I talked to him. That was one of my first questions to him. Was like, hey, you got to know Ryland obviously up in Wichita at the ceremony, but how much were you trying to pick his brain about what to expect from some of the pitchers and everything else, just to start kind of mentally getting ready for building that relationship? Because obviously the relationship between a pitcher and a catcher is forged through just time, right? Like just the innings that you put in and the work. So yeah, super great kid, and obviously a superstar talent as well. Moving to the outfield, a little bit of a rebuilt outfield. You got some big names coming in. Aiden Robbins, obviously the first one off the bat. I think he's shown just what he can do, not just at the Cape where he won hitter of the year, but this fall he's just splaying the ball everywhere. But then you got Aston Larson coming from LSU, and you got the young kid Anthony Pack, who's had to kind of fill in some shoes very, very early on and kind of get used to things. How have you felt with the defensive cohesiveness and just what you're seeing from them?
Yeah, I feel pretty good to this point. We have to get better. I mean, that's the outfield is definitely an area that we were, there's some question marks out there as we headed into the fall. They're still there on a 34-man roster, which we have some extra players this year, but eventually it'll be a 34-man roster. So Robbins was outstanding. He was a little bit limited defensively. He had some leg issues going on, but we're still trying to figure out, is he a true center fielder, right fielder, type thing. Anthony Pack is just he's one of these guys, like he's so young and so talented that you can see his improvement almost on a daily basis.
Yeah.
He's very adaptable to coaching. He can make changes really fast and put him to play in the games. He's not scared. He's not intimidated by anything. Fall stats don't mean much, but I think he walked 17 times and struck out 4. That's not going to carry at that level, into the springtime, because the pitching, the way we do the pitching and pitchers are experimenting on pitches and stuff like that. It's going to be different. He's going to see the better pitchers more often, but he's pushing to play. There's no doubt about it. Obviously, we're hoping Jonah gets through the football season and healthy and ready to go. He was out here this past weekend hanging out a little bit, and so we think he can have a real impact, in that outfield. Ashton, we know he's talented. He was a little banged up when he got here, and then he had this super freaky, weird thing happen to his knee. Nothing bad, but we shut him down so he could get that right. It's nothing structural. It's just the weirdest little accident. It's not even an accident. Just he had this weird thing happen in the training room that set him back a couple weeks, and so we still think there's a lot of progress for him to make. But Robbins is certainly a great player, and but he needed to get better too. I think he only hit 6 homers last year, and so he and Tulo have really been hard at work on using the whole field. He actually uses the opposite side of the field really well, but also getting stronger and being able to hit a hanging breaking ball out to left field. And he actually, and then in our last inter squad game, he hit a homer to left center on an 0-2 off speed pitch, and he hit a double to left. He hit a home run to right field. So he had a really good day on Sunday. And so we just got to keep him healthy and keep him going. But there's no question the outfield is an area that we're still looking to improve.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about Jonah before and just the nuances there, right? He's been going through the football season. I talked to him and he said, "Oh yeah, I was able to go over and hit some baseballs." He, that fire is obviously there. He loves baseball. How do you anticipate that going early in the season? Is it something you want to kind of bring him along slowly, very similar to last year, just to try and not put too much pressure on him after, a physical season of football? Or is it, hey, we need to get you up and running because you're an integral part of this team. You're going to be counted on?
Yeah, we're going to get him up and running for sure. Last year he came in. If you remember, he was hurt. He's
Yeah.
still coming off that collarbone injury. He hadn't played baseball in a long time, so it took a good 2.5 months just to get him healthy and into some sort of baseball, not shape, but just his skills to kind of refresh those. I think, unless he comes over here when I'm not here, which he probably does. He's been over here 2 or 3 times to hit a little bit, but I felt like one of the beauties of his season last year is how Coach Sark and the football staff treated him. They weren't in his ear that I know of about football. And so he had a very clear mind and he could fully be invested in baseball. And I think that's why he had such a good run for us.
Yeah.
And so I've tried to respect that from this side. I'm not, hey, Jonah, why aren't you over here hitting? I would never say that. We just love having him around because he brings such an elite level of energy and confidence and swagger, whatever to the program. So, but no, we'll have our guys. January 12th will be our first day of practice, and we will fully expect Jonah to be here and be in shape and be in baseball. Having swung that bat and thrown and done things. So it's gonna be way different than last year. We're counting on him.
Yeah. No, that's great to hear. I know the fans love him. I mean, he's one of those electric personalities that just brings that energy to the field, if you will. So yeah, it's always
and he's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good player. I mean, he's a really good player. So yeah, we love having him around. The guys love it. And he's done a really good job of investing some time and getting to know everybody. So I know over at the Tank where all the student athletes eat, he'll spend time with the baseball guys over there. So that's super important. They all know him. They have varying degrees of relationships with Jonah. So we're excited about that part.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. Coming into this season, it's a little bit different than last season, right? I think y'all were still trying to very much figure out who's going to pitch, where they're going to pitch. Do we have any pitchers? What is this all going to look like? And this season, you get the 3 big names back in Harrison, Grubbs, and Ruger, but you get a bunch of other guys back as well. And then y'all are able to supplement that with the transfer portal a little bit, and then the freshmen. And the freshman arms that I've seen certainly look like, hey, these are guys that down the road are going to certainly help out the program short-term and long-term. But what have you seen from your pitchers in year 2 of Mac's tutelage?
Well, first of all, Max, the job he did last year is incredible, considering this time last year, a guy like Grubbs hadn't picked up a baseball. Ethan Walker, he couldn't even get on the field, couldn't travel. He didn't throw enough strikes. And by the end of the year, he ends up starting the SEC game and SEC conference tournament game, and then a first game of a regional. Luke Harrison goes from what he throw 10 innings a year before, and then he becomes one of the top 2 or 3 left-handed starters in the SEC. And then Ruger's so versatile and was such a team guy to bounce between the bullpen and then in the rotation when Spencer went down. So those guys all have been really good. We've kind of just let them work on the things they need to work on, but the growth of those young pitchers, the growth of Jason Flores has been super impressive. It's all short stints, right? So most of the guys, nobody threw more than 2 innings in the fall back to back. I mean, in one day.
Yeah.
So we don't stretch them out too much. We try to save that for the spring. But boy, in a short stint, guys like Thomas Burns, Flores, Hudson Hamilton have made really big jumps. And then the new pitchers, the young guys. Well, the 2 transfers, LeFew and Cal Higgins. Higgins, was really good late. He kind of went a weird direction with his summer workouts where he thought being bigger would make him better, and it's actually kind of took away from his explosiveness a little bit. So by the end of the fall, when he leaned out a little bit, he was up to 94 and tons of strikes, really good breaking ball. And then, I think LeFew, he threw a lot over the course of the summer in the Cape Cod League. And I think he's pretty beat up when he got here. Not hurt, but just not the best version of himself physically, led to a few mechanical things that he and Max got through. But he's got elite stuff, that's for sure. He's always been a pretty good strike thrower. So we'll see. We're going to give, 6 to 8 guys the way we normally do it in the spring is we'll set up 8 guys or so to start the inter squad games and we'll see what that looks like and stretch them out. And the closer we get to the season, then we'll start to slide guys in, different roles. Valanis didn't throw. He's throwing now. He didn't pitch competitively this fall. He had actually a pretty tough bout of mono at the very end of the summer, and it knocked him back, knocked his weight back, knocked his strength back. And, that's scary stuff because if you do too much too soon, it can come back. Yeah. Certainly that's how you get your arm injured is when the rest of your body is not right. So, but he's looking good so far in all of his work. And then, those young pitchers are just, boy, impressive.
Yeah.
Michael Winter, Brett Crossland, Sam Cozart, Jack McKernan. Who am I missing? Grady Westfall. Even some of the guys like Jaden Ferguson coming off an injury. Some of those guys are so super talented. But at the forefront is Winter, Crossland, Cozart, and McKernan. Strike throwers. Crossland is insane with his stuff. Winter, so consistent. Cozart really getting better on the shapes of his pitches. Let me look through here some of these names, see if I missed anybody or if there's anybody. Cade Bing has gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
Looks stronger. Ball's coming out of his hand really well.
The thing that impressed me with Bing was he didn't look like he was having to force the issue as much, when he wanted to run it up, and he was able to really separate the fastball versus the breaking stuff. It looked different coming out of his hand, much more so than last year. He looked a lot more confident. So,
yeah, I think his arm feels better. He started off the season, great, and then had some shoulder stuff, and I don't know that he ever got over it. He just threw enough strikes on Tuesdays to give us innings, and which are so valuable. And I think this fall he was really able to work on some things. He's such a good athlete. He's actually one of the best. He and Ruger, two really good outfielders, actually. Really good. And as we get closer to a 34-man roster, you're going to see things like that, where if you have a great defender who might be a pitcher, then he that can play a role. One other name I missed, Brody Walls. Wow, he's in that first group too. Yeah. Brody Walls is right up there with Winter and Crossland and those other right-handers, Cozart. Brody is super competitive. He's got a great arm, can really spin the ball. So we'll see what it looks like in the spring. You never truly know until you turn the lights on against somebody else. But they handled in the 2 games that we had in the fall, the 2 outside competition games. No freshman gave up a run. Yeah, and all the runs were given up by the returning pitchers or the older or the transfers. So not that means much of anything, but just how they handled themselves. I was really proud of them. And Brody is. He's got a chance to be a real weapon for us out of the bullpen. He got some. His arsenal is really going to compete well at our level.
Yeah, Brody. Looking at Michael Winter, looking at his film, you can see kind of the maturity, the physical builds there. It's all about staying within himself and just attacking the zone, right? Like the things that you love to see from a kid that's being coached by Max. Cozart, he's got that electricity where he can fill up the zone and he can really spin it. With Brody, I hadn't seen as much film on him from the pitching side, but in person, man, he looked like one of those kids that just kind of stands out immediately. He looks like he's having fun. It's all the energy. He hasn't been a pitcher only for ever in his life. I know he was played a lot of shortstop in high school. But he moved really well on the mound. I was super impressed with him very early on.
He's a great competitor. He can throw his off-speed pitches for strikes, and he throws 96 miles an hour. So the fastball and the velocity is cool and it's impressive, and it always helps all the other pitches when you throw hard. But if you just throw hard, you're not going to survive in the SEC or really any upper level Division I league anymore. So his ability to throw his off-speed pitches for strikes and and then zip that fastball in there when he needs to do it is ultra impressive. Fields his position well, like you said, and he's had a lot of personal growth too, just in his mindset and how he carries himself walking through the stadium and around through the locker room and stuff like that. So Winter and Crossland and Cozart, like you just don't find that many freshmen that have good arms that run the fastball up there in the low to mid 90s. In Crossland's case, upper 90s.
97, yeah.
And they throw enough strikes. I mean, and Crossland, started the fall he was throwing strikes with his fastball and this kind of a deceptive, loopy, overhand breaking ball. And by the end of the fall, he's throwing right on right changeups. He's throwing a really good slider and still has the overhand breaking ball. So he is really, those guys. Wow, if we can keep them healthy and use them the right way leading into the season and during this year, what a future. Especially if Valanis and Flores can continue their growth. To have Valanis, Flores, Winter, Crossland, Cozart, Walls, McKernan, like all those guys play really big roles for us this year, but still have the protection from Luke, Max, Ruger, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Ethan Walker. So you can kind of protect those guys a little bit and spoon feed them in a way. But I fully anticipate, hopefully we stay completely healthy, but you know how that goes. I fully anticipate, looking into the future of Texas baseball next year, and you return all those guys, even though it's going to stink to lose Grubbs and Luke and Ruger, but the experience, if it may be a guy like Valanis and Flores are in your rotation for most of the season, and then they get to do it again next year, that just doesn't happen that much in college baseball. But the best teams we had at TCU, we had that going there where we had freshmen and sophomore in the rotation, and therefore you were always turning over. You were never like wiped out from your rotation. There was always kind of an anchor or two moving into the next year, and that's where we are. I mean, the 26 class is incredible. We know the draft will play it's going to play a role in that, but when you look at Valanis and Flores, and then this freshman class, and then the next freshman class, and the 27 stuff has gone great too. They're trying to get to that point where we're layering talent, not just on the mound, but in the field as well. So super excited about where we are at this point. We haven't won anything, but where we are at this point, I feel confident. And Max has done such a great job.
Yeah. Looking at the fall in its entirety, not like picking out one inning or one pitch, how would you evaluate the way they performed against Texas Tech, and Lamar and outside competition versus what they did in inter squad? Did you see where anything that, shocked you or surprised you, or was like, okay, I'm happy to see that they played very consistent. They weren't trying to do too much too early.
Yeah, I was really proud. I mean, obviously the Texas Tech game had a great crowd up there. I thought our guys handled themselves well. Even the transfers that, especially a guy like Robbins, Robbins and Tinney, Tinney may have at Clemson or something like that, maybe played in front of a big crowd, Florida State. But Robbins, he admittedly, never seen as many people in a baseball game. So those guys handled it great. I felt like we, especially on that particular day, our guys played with some intensity to win the game. And then, the game here, I felt like it was the same, but we just, we didn't get, I think we loaded the bases in the first 3 innings. We didn't get a timely hit. Lamar's really good.
Yeah.
And I don't know that, these games, sometimes they feel like spring training games, even though I've never been in a spring training game as a coach, but whereas, if you have 1 or 2 pitchers have a bad inning, we tried not to roll any innings. We wanted every pitcher to come in a clean inning if we could. So when an inning would get away from like Cal Higgins, like it did against Lamar or LeFew, that we wouldn't let that happen during the season. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But Lamar, they certainly, I mean, they came with a great intensity to win, and they whipped our butts that day overall. But I'm not going to put too much into that. But if you look at each individual player, I feel like they handled it great. Some guys better than others, but those games are so valuable. And moving forward, we will continue to do that. I love the Round Rock experience. If we can work the dates out, we'll probably end up, doing something with Texas Tech, maybe like in Midland or something like that. I really like the idea, and you see it across the country, kind of taking your team on the road for a little kind of a circus show, like like Mississippi State and Florida State did. So we're looking at different, where are parts, maybe where are areas in the state where if we went, say, to San Antonio, or we went to meet Tech in Midland, or maybe played a game in Frisco, or something like that. Obviously, Round Rock's awesome. Where can we take our team and have a really good experience and have Longhorn fans get to watch us play that maybe normally don't get to see us play in person. I love playing games at Dish Falk, but golly, so much going on in Austin all the time, but especially in the fall.
Yeah.
When you're looking at those dates and you're like, oh my goodness, we're up against ACL or F1 or obviously a football game. So that's one thing that you may see us do more of, is kind of, if we get 2 games, we're actually pushing for 4 as a coaching association. We'll see if we get that. But yeah, I like the information and that we get from those games, more, not so much the baseball results, but just how guys handle it mentally and their body language, especially with a good crowd.
Yeah. You mentioned Robbins. That we asked him, what's the biggest crowd you ever played in? He's like, friends and family. I mean, it was great.
But one of the cool things about Robbins is when the lights come on, wow, and it's not that he's a slug in practice or anything, but when the lights came on, boy, was he an impressive guy. And, he didn't carry a bad at bat to the next at bat. And so, special player.
Yeah, he certainly had a lot of the scouts and, the national writers talking about him for sure. And for very good reason. I mean, the bats that he put together, especially against Texas Tech, were incredibly impressive. Right field, left field, he was using the entire space. And
he's awesome. I think again, our challenge is, you don't want to have a top. You want to have a complete team, obviously, and you want to have a lineup that has some depth to it. And so, I've had teams. I had a team 1 year at TCU. I think it was 2015, where the pitching staff was awesome. The first 4.5 hitters in the lineup, really good. But you had to wait 2 innings for those guys to come back up, and we don't want to have that kind of team. So the next 8 weeks and leading up to the season, it's going to be really big, because guys like Livingston, Timo, Ermis, Pack, those guys, I mean, and there's others, those guys have to continue to get better so that we can have a really, formidable lineup that allows us to play, good offensive baseball every single inning. So, but that's what coaching is. That's, there's no perfect team. We knew that the 2 kids that signed on us late in the draft, that was going to have an impact, but everything happens for a reason, and that creates more at bat and opportunities for a guy like Pack, who really does have a chance to be a special player.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know y'all have got a lot going on, so I'll let you get to it. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that, what is it, January 31st is the alumni game. So make sure all Longhorn fans get out there to see some of their favorites. You always got guys like Faltini coming in, and I'm sure a couple of guys like Galvan and others will be sneaking in there to get their hacks in against some of their old buddies. So it's always good to see the old players get in there.
Yeah, it's a great day. There's a good solid group of former players right now downstairs, get working out. Tanner Witt, Galvan, of course, Schuessler, Max Ballou, Steely, there's Pete, the lefty,
Yeah.
Hanson, yeah. Those guys are all awesome. So having those guys around every day is really good for our team. And then, man, if we can replicate the weather we got last year, wow. That's that was a special day, and it's an honor to to coach at Texas and on any day, but that day is super cool for me personally to see all those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Coach, appreciate the time. Thank you for stopping in and talking some Texas baseball. And yeah, looking forward to seeing the team back on the field in January.
Yeah, man, I appreciate all you do and look forward to our conversations. Hook 'em.
All right. Welcome.